Now, China has hit back at the group of 7 developed countries, expressing strong dissatisfaction with the G7 communique that took aim at Beijing on issues including the South China Sea. Spokesman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry said G7 approach has no international credibility whatsoever. It insists on manipulating China-related issues. Now, spokesman added G7 trumpets it wants to move towards a peaceful, stable, and prosperous world, but in fact it is hindering world peace, undermining regional stability, and inhibiting the development of other countries. Earlier, G7 countries issued a statement accusing China of coercion. They said that they're gravely concerned about territorial disputes in the South China Sea as well. Joining us now from Lima, Peru is Peter Koenig, former World Bank economist. And hello, Mr. Koenig, always a pleasure to check in with you, sir. So at the G7, especially the communique, China and Russia, for that matter, feel like the G7 put too much spotlight on them, basically ganged up on them. Do you feel that's the case? Is that basically a good way to analyze the situation, or do you think there's basically, what are your initial thoughts on it, please?
Yes, thank you very much for having me. First, let me say, I think the world must know, and you have said it before, but the world must really know that the G7 is only a group of power-thirsty Western countries considering themselves the cream of the crop. But listen good, they have absolutely no legitimacy in the world. They are not even established as an NGO, yet they want to dictate the world along with other similar, much other such non-institutions like the G20 and the World Economic Forum, that the rest of the universe must do, whom they have to listen to, and who calls the shots. At least China and Russia and ever more countries of the East are resisting this one polar world that they call rules-based order. It says exactly what it is. It's rules made by those self-imposed rulers without any international legitimacy, without any international meaning, none whatsoever. Now, it is no coincidence that this G7 meeting is hosted by Japan. They want to increase the intimidation factor by talking from an Eastern neighbor totally sold to the corrupted West. They want to intimidate China. Of course, they will not succeed. What many don't know, though, is that recently Washington promised Japan, if they take a firm anti-China and pro-Western stance in questions of South China Sea, foremost Taiwan, but also North Korea, they would be rewarded by Washington with nuclear protection. Can you imagine how far the Western world has come? Blackmail, corruption, no end. No ethics left, no chance for peace, just pure domination. And I think that's what the world needs to know. Attesting to this is that this time at the G7, NATO has a significant role. They are present with a significant role of intimidation, of showing China and its allies that they have the whole Western might is standing in Japan and standing up against China. So NATO has long ceased to be what it was created for as the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the post-World War II so-called protective umbrella, what they pretended to be. It has long become the West's war machine, stretching its tentacles around the globe as it feels fit, all funded by the US and its vassal European allies. That's why they are now also in Japan, trying to make a menacing impression. To those who know that sheer power and demonstrated hegemony will never win, not with the most formidable financial backing against humanity, against the human strive to live together in peace and to cooperate, this Japan event should be a signal from which looking forward may become a good lesson for the people of the world. It is nothing but propaganda to the rest of the ignorant planet's inhabitants of the world, which has not realized yet that G7 is no legitimate entity. I know I repeat myself, but I think it has to be known. Nor the G20, nor the World Economic Forum, nor the Bilderbergers. As we speak, and that's not an accident either, as we speak, they are meeting near Lisbon in a secret place. They are all make-believe talking sessions of the rich and powerful to intimidate the world. What really counts is what we see developing in the East through the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, through China's Belt and Road Initiative, through the BRICS, ever more working together. It is an ever-growing attempt to peaceful cooperation around the world, at establishing diplomatic relations and common projects,
Mr. Koenig.
at building rather than destruction.
Right.
If we,
Mr. Koenig, if I could just jump in, I want to get this second question out to you because we're almost out of time. Is that it seems like, okay, the U.S. is in China's backyard. It's partnered up with Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Taiwan. What's the point there? Is it trying to get a rise out of China? We've seen the U.S.'s other G7 leaders at times say that they're not really on board. Now, they're part of this communique for some reason, but we've heard them in the time echo those sentiments that they are not really on board to use Taiwan as a thorn to try to poke the bear and try to ignite confrontation with China. So basically, are all the European leaders and the G7 partners of the U.S. willing to take this China thing as far as Washington is? And why is Washington willing to take it that far?
Well, I think as we mentioned before, I think it's on the one hand it's sheer propaganda. It's trying to intimidate China further by saying that the whole China Sea, South China Sea countries, alliances are with them. That's actually not true. But the rest of the world doesn't know these lies. They're penetrated with the media. So Washington is actually playing a game, as they often do, with huge mass propaganda to make the world believe that they are in power and China is actually backing up. But that's not the case. They don't need to. There's absolutely no reason to back out. Let's just take Taiwan for once. There have been and have been for years, and they're stronger growing ever so often, relations between mainland China and Taiwan, business relations. Business relations that have been growing stronger, and they are certainly not going to be broken by Washington. To the contrary, this is going to be a transition process with no war, no bullets fought. China knows that very well, and I think there is no doubt that Taiwan is aware of this. And these relationships, they were getting stronger and stronger, and the West is just talking for talking and for propaganda. But Washington, in their innermost soul, if they had one, they would know that too, and they do know that there is no chance to stop China and Taiwan to get together.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure to check in with you and pick your brain on things. Stay safe. Mr. Peter Koenig there joining us from Lima, Peru.